Payne in the house. Coffee.
You're welcome. By the way, I have to tell you that this is my first cup of the Mornin Buzz coffee, and it is delicious. I have the Queen Bee flavor.
Yes.
I can taste the hazelnut flavors in it. It's really smooth, and I had it right after having Folgers, and it's night and day.
Where do we shut this off, Frank?
Folgers.
Where's the button to shut this off? Where's the? Did you say Folgers, Frank?
He said Folgers.
Oh.
He was doing a comparative test, though, like the Coke Pepsi test, I suppose.
I was, and I wanted to do that to compare, and it's not even close. I mean, having the beans as well makes a difference. Like grinding the beans just before you make the coffee makes a difference as well. But yeah, nice job, guys. I'm really, really happy. I'm really proud for you guys, and you got a new fan, that's for sure. So
awesome. Thank you, dude. Hey, listen, when you finally go ahead and decide to throw that Folgers out, could you film that for us? I think we got a delay there. I think he's up at the International Space Station.
We got Jake Payne here on Coffee Hang Friday night, 7 p.m. Wonderful piano player, great human being. He's an educator in the Peel region, Halton region. I can't remember which region you're in.
I live in Peel. My family were in Mississauga, and the last 12 years I have taught elementary I'm in the Halton board, yes.
The Halton board. So he's an educator, so we thank him for that, because as more and more people now through COVID are realizing educators are really important, because they've got the kids at home trying to educate them. They're starting to realize how much work these teachers are actually really doing out there. So we thank you for that, Jake. He's been a bandmate with both Ed and I over the 20 years, for me anyways, that I've been playing music with Jake. He's a little bit of a coffee neophyte here. He called it, "We really like your Queen Bee flavor." It's a roast, just so you know.
Oh, the Queen Bee is the roast. So that's the medium roast.
That's right.
It's medium roast is our Queen Bee, yeah. And we'll get into that kind of stuff. But anyways, welcome, Jake. Welcome to Coffee Hang. We won't burn you all. But
let's start.
I'll be asking you guys questions about coffee in general as well, because I'm sure that people that are watching this may have questions about the roast and how to best get the best flavor out of your coffee bean. So I'll be asking you guys some questions about that too. So that'll help everyone.
Yeah, good.
Awesome. Right on there.
Start by talking about that shirt.
Oh yeah. Well, you guys, if you were going to ask me about music, I had a bunch of vinyl records here in terms of like my, not Desert Island, but maybe albums that influenced me throughout my lifetime. And I don't have, this is one of them. This is Dream Theater Metropolis Part 2. And this would be on that list, except I don't have it on vinyl. And so I just thought I would wear the shirt, because I saw them on the 20th anniversary tour when this album came out 20 years before. And
when was that, and where was that?
When was this 20th anniversary tour?
Yeah.
So the last several times they've been playing has been at Massey Hall.
Yeah.
And I've probably seen them about 10 times, and there are 4 of us that go. Myself, a really good friend of mine, and then he's got 2 friends that I only ever see at Dream Theater concerts, which is quite humorous. Actually, Frank, they live in the Hamilton area. They all do. And but yeah, so that would have been, this would have been probably 3 years ago at Massey Hall. And the only time they play is in Toronto, is at Massey Hall. And they do play Toronto every tour, North American tour, because the singer is from the Penetanguishene Midland area.
Oh yeah.
And I just like Jordan Rudess as a piano player. Jordan Rudess is just like out of this world.
Yeah.
My one of my piano heroes, that is for sure. So I mean, the music is, I love their music, but it's just like any style of music. There are times when you want to listen to something else, and you know, and anytime somebody asks you your desert island albums or your favorite band that you listen to these days, it really, depending on your mood, right? It depends on the day, how you're feeling and what kind of music moves you that day or that week, and what's going on in your life compared to what the music sounds like, right? So
I've seen them once and only once, and it was at Massey Hall, and it was the first tour they did with Mike Mangini.
Wow.
okay.
So that would have been maybe 2 tours ago or 2 concerts ago at Massey Hall. I'm not
It
sure.
would
But
have
it
been
was the first show with Mangini.
Okay, it would have been at least 2. They've come to Toronto several times since then.
Right.
They're in Toronto probably every 2 to 3 years.
Right.
And you probably saw him, I would say that would have been, no, not 10 years ago, maybe 10 years now.
I wouldn't say
2010. I think 2011-ish is when he joined, but
yeah.
You know.
Well, hey, I think the RD department might be able to check that out. Let's see here. When did Mike Mangini
I got it off the top of my head right here. You know, I have a funny Dream Theater story with Jake. We used to tour up to Ottawa a lot, and Jake was in the band, and we were a country band, and we would play everything but country in the van, and we would take turns putting songs on or music or album sides on, and then Jake would throw Dream Theater, and the one singer would usually last about 5 minutes of Dream Theater and go, "Can we put something else up?"
Yeah.
It wasn't in 4/4. It wasn't a country shuffle. It was, it was a little more involved in that. So, but I loved it. It was.
Jake, you're right, man. It was 2011. So we're 9 years. You nailed it, man. Well done, sir.
It was just Dream Theater.
I have my calculator with me, and I carried the 4 properly. Apparently.
Well, you're teaching our children. I sure hope you did.
Yeah.
Oh,
but I don't listen to them as much anymore now. It's I'm like lately I would have to say, I don't know if you guys have heard the new Tool album, but
I heard it's great.
Oh my goodness, it is so awesome. I love it. But that one, Emil, the guitar player, Emil Deon, it just got me hooked on a band called the Punch Brothers.
Yes.
And they are a sort of bluegrassy, they're kind of prog, but there's no drummer. It's just a bluegrass band. It's basically mandolin, guitar, upright bass, singer, and they are so talented. And what they're throwing into these, they're kind of pop tunes, but
Ed's already bumped into Jake.
Yeah.
Triangle player.
And, yeah, Tool's latest album is called Fear Inoculum. And the other artist that I'm really into these days is Jacob Collier. And he's a piano player who is just like super, super harmonic, technical genius, tons of flavor. And I highly recommend. I saw him live with my son, Zach, at the Phoenix in Toronto 2 years ago. And he was supposed to be here in May. And we got tickets, and of course, because of the COVID thing, we can't see him live now, unfortunately.
Where was he playing this time, Jake?
Same spot.
Okay.
Except the tickets we got 2 years ago were $30, and now they're $130 because he has gone from, he's won Grammys. He's
What's
just
his name again?
Jacob Collier, Collier. Check out his version of All Night Long. Who does All Night Long? Lionel Richie. Check out his version of All Night Long. It's going to change your life. It's just so brilliant. Okay. He also does a great version of Moon River.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Write that down. He goes into like D half sharp major. He sings tones that are like, if you are in, sorry to get overly technical, but if you're going from C chromatically from C to D, you're only playing your 3 notes, C, C sharp, and D. He would sing 5 equal tonality pitches in between the notes C and D, without being like perfectly tonality.
Layers.
So we layered. So you know how in North American music, we divide our octave in 12 equal pitches, and it's equal temperament, and we've been doing it for hundreds of years. So he's really starting to play with that tonality, but not in the sense of it's too weird and out there that you can't listen to it. But he just sneaks it in there. So nobody who is just if you're just listening to it casually, you're not even going to realize it.
Right.
But he's actually going into things like D half sharp major. Nobody will know. And like our thirds.
Sharp major. Wow.
Yes, it's
A little perfect going up there, a little Eastern.
and that's totally my thing. Like, you know, pop music now. I mean, I can listen to it, but I can only take a lot of the music that's on the radio so far, because you guys know, like, you play these songs thousands of times as a live musician, and nothing surprises you anymore. And it's really hard to find stuff that will throw you a curveball where you go, wait a second, what was that? What did he do there? And when I hear that, that's what turns me on musically. That's what I enjoy to listen to, you know?
Awesome.
Especially when it's done musically as well, where you're not, you know, like a good example for me is always 7 Days of the Sting tune off 10 Summer's Tale.
Oh,
You don't think of it as in 5. You never hear that in 5 because of what Vinny's doing, even though the song's 5, right?
Sorry, who, Frank?
Vinny,
Vinny who?
Vinny Colaiuta.
Thank you. Gotta mention that guy's last name, man. Well, I mean, in musicians, you know who Vinny is, but
Vinny, yeah, that's true. Right? For all the non-music,
respect to that god.
Vinny, he's just that. He's, you know, Gad and Vinny are just basically, you know, those guys. You know,
if they married, could you imagine the babies they would have?
That would be amazing.
Vinny Gad.
Vinny Gad.
Speaking of great drummers, I've been going through my record collection.
Thank you.
COVID-19. I've been going through my record collection. You're welcome, Ed. That was a shout out to you, buddy. I miss you, man. I threw on Boz Scaggs' record with the one with Lido Shuffle and Lowdown on it.
Oh.
And so I have that on vinyl, and I'm like, who is this drummer? Oh my goodness. So I had no idea. It's Jeff Porcaro.
Yeah, Toto was his back, basically.
And then I have 2 Toto records, and I put those on immediately afterwards because this was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I just got on this Jeff Porcaro kick, and he's like, is he your top 5 for you, Ed, or what?
Absolutely, clearly, like top 5.
You know you're doing well when you're a drummer's favorite drummer, right?
Yeah.
Well, and Keltner and guys like that, like, you know, they're drummers. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, those are the guys that drummers look up to, that other people don't know their names at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the regular people just listening to music, they don't even know who the bass player is and all that. But I mean, even in the musician world, you know, like some musicians are like, Jeff who?
Yeah.
Vinny who?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know who Vinny is by now, it doesn't matter what.
That's right.
Well, you should be.
Well, I've talked to guitar students that I like. Jimmy who? Hey?
Vinny Hendrix, man. He's the saxophone player.
Jake Colaiuta is a really good guitar drummer.
Vinny Hendrix. I love it.
Jake.
Yeah, he plays the mean alto.
The mean alto.
We're not talking sports anymore. Come on, what's going on here? Jake, COVID-19. I mean, we're in it. Obviously, coffee hang would normally be around a coffee table. How's it affected you, buddy? You know, I mean.
As a musician, we all know as musicians how it's affected us. Never in a good way. I have. As a musician, I've been practicing way more, so I have to say that my chops are up, which is good. But the camaraderie, like I've done solo piano gigs, and yes, nowadays solo and duos are sort of the thing because bands are going by the wayside, but being able to feed off of other musicians when you're playing on stage or in a rehearsal is really where I really enjoy. As a musician, I really like to listen to what you are doing and then feed off of what you're doing and add to that to help the song sound better. So when you're practicing on your own, it's fine, but it's not ideal as to the social thing. As a teacher, everything is basically moved online now. So my assignments are online. Which is fine, but as a music teacher, I did 95% playing. I tried to do all my assignments through putting an instrument into the students' hands and just getting them to figure it out and experiment and learn at their level and what the songs that inspire them.
And
So,
what grade are you teaching? Can you just let us know about that? Just so
sure.
we get a picture.
I have taught, all the way from kindergarten to university and everything in between. I've taught high school, I've taught college, and I've taught university. Right now I'm grades 4 to 8. My schedule is that I start with the grade 8s, which is the oldest age, and it goes down until my schedule is full. And I have to say, without a doubt, grades 6 to 8 is the toughest age to teach, only because they're really, they're just developing in their own bodies. They're just starting to get they're starting to get more confident, but they're also still immature enough to be a kid. It's kind of like, a kid in an adult's body.
Yeah.
So and it's really tough for them. That age is tough to live through. So them going through the drama of their everyday, what they have to go through on a daily basis between social stuff, family stuff, educational stuff, their own stuff. It's tough enough for them to be living. But it's a very tough age to teach. And I love the challenge. And when I can really hook somebody that early onto music and really inspire them, not to become a musician, just to appreciate what good music is. I'm really trying to get them to be teachers themselves. Like I could teach them any song they want to learn, but I want to teach them how to learn so that they can leave my classroom understanding how to get better as a person and how to get better as a musician. Yeah. But if they can walk away from all of this, being able to say, here's the music I listened to and here's why I enjoy it, rather than here's a great song because the singer's cute, or here's a good song because it makes me dance. Well, what is it about this music that makes you want to dance? What is it about this music that makes you run faster or get your math homework done quicker or help you focus on whatever you need to do, right? So that's really my philosophy of what I'm trying to inspire in my kids,
Yeah, that's great, man. Fantastic.
That's amazing. Amazing stuff.
Yeah. So, and also, like, there's a piano in I play all the instruments I have to. If somebody has a flute question, I need to be able to answer it. If somebody has a trumpet question, whether it's embouchure, whether it's fingering, whether it's how, like, your physicality of what you're doing, I need to be able to answer all of that. So, and it's a lot of fun. My day, usually when I'm at school, beside the COVID thing, I would grab whatever instrument is off the shelf that I haven't played in a while and play along with them, just to model an example of what, and I would have a different instrument every time so they can all see what it sounds like, what it looks like. And there's a piano, there's obviously a keyboard in the corner of my classroom, and I'm on that. Anytime the kids are doing anything on their own, if it's not playing and I have them working, then I would go over to the piano and I would literally practice. So that they can, I'm doing it for me. It's selfish for me to do that. But if I can get them working on their own and they are self-sufficient enough, obviously I'm open to questions that they might have. But if they can see a musician, what their routine is, what they need to do. Oh, I'm slowing something down because I don't have it yet. Oh, I'm working on the rhythm. Oh, I'm just working on bar 3 of whatever, just so that they can see what it takes to reach that next level, because a lot of kids don't understand how to practice, or a lot of kids don't understand what they need for the next step in their life to reach that next level, no matter what it is, right?
And how to get past the frustration of that too, because that's that's usually where the talk is, like, they're frustrated and then they give up. How do you get them inspired to not give up? I love the philosophy about, it's not necessarily being a great player, it's being, understanding the music and why you love it and stuff like that.
You were talking about the kids don't know how to practice. I have a sheet made up literally that I give to every student, and we go through every lesson, or the first lesson, on how to practice, on how to take the information that I've given you and how to split that into time. Right. Because it's like, you have 4 things to work on. You're better off to work on that. If you're going to work on it for an hour, take 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes, have it all set up ready to rock, so that you go, even if it's say just 10 minutes per thing, but you have it all set up and you just go, okay, timer goes off, boom, that book goes off, onto the next thing. And
Yeah.
do that every 2 days or every whatever. You're better off doing that than to work on one of those things for an hour every 5 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You hit a lot of stuff a lot of the time instead of, or you hit a little of the stuff a lot of the time instead of a lot of the stuff a little of the time, right? It's huge.
Yeah.
That's probably the same in other things too outside of music. You know what I mean? Like just being able to manage your time, and I think you get more things done that way, no matter what you're working on.
So
Yeah.
I really try to use different non-musical analogies with kids, because not all of them can relate to musical examples like that, where it's like, oh, slow it down, repetition, practice it over and over, you go into smaller sections, only practice the parts you can't play, right? Take the hardest part of the song and just work on that. Like stuff like that is, as musicians who've been practicing for years and years, that's common knowledge for those that have a good practice routine.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm trying to say, like, Sidney Crosby can't hit top shelf every corner by fluke. He just doesn't put his skates on and hit top corner because that's how good he is. Now, I'm not knocking his raw talent. His gift for hockey is obviously there, but somebody like him and Ovechkin, any NHL player, any hockey player, to get better, you have to work on those kind of skills to be the best of your own ability, right?
Exactly.
But I would love a copy of that sheet at some point.
I'll write that down and I'll send it over to you today.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and I was going to say that it's not just about young students either. Like I've had students that play in bands that record records and tour coast to coast. And I have a couple of those drummers that come in and study with me, and they don't even know how to practice properly.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're talking to a guy that's in his 40s that is like, okay, well, I didn't look at it that way before, and they're overwhelmed with the amount of material they want to cover, because they got good intentions with all these books they've either purchased or stuff that they've seen that they're, I want to work on that. But it's overwhelming because there's so much material out there. It's like grab, 2 or 3 things and, master them and then move on. Or, whatever master means, or, because perfection is not what we think about perfection. It's like unobtainable, really. I mean, you can strive to be perfect, but just be happy in your progress, right?
And a good example of that recently was, Neil Peart, that we just lost recently, but, he was a superstar drummer in that style for how many years, and back in 2011, he decides, I'm going to start taking lessons and change my grip.
Freddie Gruber.
He didn't have to do any of that, like really in life. Like it wouldn't have changed him financially.
Yeah.
But as a human, he was, I want to get better at what I do. So that's the kind of stuff that drives us. It's what we look for, and I guess COVID gives us pause to maybe investigate that a little bit more.
Music is definitely a craft that you can never say that you've mastered. I like to use the analogy of this ladder. I always picture myself on this ladder, and the next rung is my next sort of musical achievement.
Yeah.
And the ladder never ends. Like you go up 2 rungs, and then you look up, and it's 2 rungs higher than it was before you went up 2 rungs. Yeah. But what I try to tell my students is, every now and then you need to look down and realize how far off the ground you've gotten, because you're way higher than you think. But it doesn't matter what age. Like you, me, all of us, we establish these habits as practice musicians, and we can establish bad habits that, as you're using the Neil Peart example, it doesn't matter what age you are. You can have somebody else listening with a pair of fresh ears and giving you some ideas on how to get better.
Yeah.
But Ed, you're so right in terms of the overwhelming. It's like you sit down to practice and you think, I want to learn this, and this, and I only have this much time. Let's go. And you're totally right. You just have to take one bit and work on that, and just like back off don't stress about it. You will get there eventually, but you have to just pick one or two things and just try and work on that and master that at a time, right? Otherwise you're right, you get overwhelmed, and therefore it's a negative impact on what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and you end up doing nothing because you're just like, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the intermission with Jake the Snake Payne.
Welcome to his back.
Oh, me? Like he's like this. He's like, oh, me? Are you talking? Oh, hi. Welcome back.
Hey, what's going on?
Jake Payne's back from intermission. I want to step right into a music question, sir, for you.
Okay.
You are one of my favorite piano players to play with, and I mean that. Every time you go to solo, you go into these Latin vibes and Latin rhythms, you know? You do that a lot, and I love it because when I was going to college, going to music school, I really dove into the Latin world, like the Afro-Cuban and all that stuff, and it, like I've learned the Nangos and like all these different Afro-Cuban rhythms and stuff like that. And I love it because I love how even in rock and blues and funk, whatever I'm playing, whatever style I'm playing, you can hear that influence come out in my playing. You know what I mean? And that's why when you play it and you in your solo you play these rhythms, I'm playing drums and we're on a country gig and I'll be playing and all of a sudden I'll just go, ooh, like the first time you play, I'll be, what's that? And then I would follow you, like we would do rhythmic patterns together because it seems like we're cut from the same cloth on that department. So my question to you is, where does that come from?
I have honestly no idea what you're talking about whatsoever.
Excuse me.
Even before I even before I answer that question, hold on, let's wait till, and we're back. Even before I answer that question, one of the reasons I love playing with great musicians such as yourself and Frank is whatever I do, I love players, like we mentioned this before, I love playing with musicians that listen. There's musicians that just kind of play a gig and they could be playing, whether they would be playing in their own basement or on the stage with other musicians, they would play the exact same thing. I play based on what I hear you guys do, and that's what I love about you guys is you guys do the same thing. So when I'm doing something, as you said, Ed, you guys will follow me into wherever I'm going. So we, as a band, we're going on this journey. We're not just playing the same chords at the same time. We're going on this musical journey. That one of the magical things about doing music at all is 1 bar from now, 5 seconds from now, even the next tune, I don't even know what the next song is going to be until the guy calls it. And that's the awesome, magical thing that you can't explain it's very tough to explain to non-musicians, because you go on this magical journey as a team, as a unit, and we don't know where it's taking us, and it's magical every time. And that's what I love about playing with you guys is we go together, we go as a team, and that's what I love about it, right? But honestly, I never considered myself a jazz musician. I never considered myself a Latin musician. All I'm trying to do is I only play what I hear. If I don't hear it, I don't play it. I've been gifted with good musical ears, but if I don't hear something, I'm not playing it. I'm not just playing something to fill up space. So if I have to take a bar and a half to hear anything, then it takes me a bar and a half. And then my phrasing is better because of it. And it's my solos and my playing becomes more human and more passionate, because it's not just this mechanical bunch of notes that I'm spewing out riff number 17 in whatever, right? So, but
so where do you think your Latin vibe comes from? Because it's in there. Did you listen to it before? Did you work on some stuff?
I honestly, I did. Latin is probably my least familiar style of music. That I would call myself, like, in terms of knowledgeable. However, that being said, I have been practicing with a metronome since I was 7. So I can really, especially when I play with drummers as solid like you, it's nice where you have the beat down. So if I want to do something a little bit rhythmic, I know that you are either going to, whether you follow me rhythmically or keep the tempo, you know where I'm going, you know what's going on, and I can play with stuff like that a little more and come back to, okay, this is where one is. It's just that much easier for me to do that, and it's so much fun playing with great drummers such as yourself when I can take a solo and go to do that. It gives me all the freedom, and I basically, like, I don't know how you guys experience playing, but when you practice enough times, it's almost like you're watching yourself play from outside of your own body. It's really cool, right?
Yeah.
You just watch yourself play, and just things happen. You just don't. I don't have to think, oh, I need to put my 4th finger on F sharp. I'm like 10 notes past that by the time I have to think, right? That's why you practice. That's why you do your scales and all that, whatever, so that you don't have to worry about that stuff when you go to play.
Yeah. So, hey, man, what's the account number, your bank account number, so I can send all that money for all the drummer props? What was that account number again?
I gotta say, but Jake, you and I have traded, verses and solos in for 20 years in bands, and it's very intuitive. We don't even have to look. It's like you kind of know who's, and it's, when whatever you finish with, or if I finish with, you're usually picking up off that note, or the spaces in between the notes. So we'll both leave huge amounts of space where just the groove sits, or we'll just sit in the pocket of the groove, just comp on something. And that's again, grow. And even if you're playing a rehearsed show, there's always something different about it every night that you're playing. There's always that magical moment. What's going to happen this time? Because this is the free for all section. We don't know where we're going to go. So it makes it enjoyable, man. It's always a pleasure.
Enjoyable. And I mean, like, for me, being a school teacher, I kind of get the best of both worlds, where in my summers and on weekends I can play with you guys, and it's great. So I never play with you guys enough. I could always take more, but I will take what I can get,
Yeah.
We'll have to do a Zoom gig once the latency's figured out with that.
And
outside of music, Jake, what I know a few of the things that you love outside of music, but let the listening audience know about some.
Yeah, what's your passion there, buddy?
I love my family. This COVID thing has brought us together. We're not sick of each other yet, which is great.
Yes.
I've got a couple board games. I'm a huge gamer. Not in terms of online games, but I don't watch a lot of TV.
Did you say I'm gonna back up the train?
I like listening to music, and
he's talking about gaming.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, you got to back the train up here, man. Did you say that you have a couple board games?
You cut out there for a second.
Oh, we're losing you. It must be that
Oh, there he is.
We're all working on.
There he goes.
Hold on. Am I about to do this? Hold on. Let me just have my background here.
I'm just
gonna move over to here.
Hey,
this is just a couple of my board games.
Man.
Board games.
And Frank, you said I got a couple board games. That should have been your backdrop setup, eh, Frank? That's really good right there.
So that's a couple of my board games. I'm just gonna plug the chart.
I like how he says, "Can I do this?" and he just proceeds to do it anyways.
Dude, I think I have a couple of your board games. I know I do.
Frozen, so I don't know if that's a me thing. I don't know if
Oh, we're
That's
good.
a you thing. You're still going on here.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Jake? Oh,
Technical difficulties.
now he froze.
Yeah, that's a pretty good picture for him to freeze on. It's better than this.
Jake, hello. Ed, how's it going? Good morning. Jake will be with us he's having one of those moments in his life.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second intermission of Coffee Hang episode 4 with Jake Payne. Well, let's see if we can't get this guy back up and rocking, and we'll be right back to you.
Yep.
Welcome back. Oh, yes.
We lost him again. Well, this Coffee Hang is brought to you by internetdisruptions.com.
Jake, you are such a champ for doing this, buddy. We got you now.
No.
Nothing?
Nope.
Hello.
You guys are like, you guys are frozen, and I'm just getting audio blips.
Well, how
Is
about
it
you
better
say,
that I go like this?
okay, can you answer our question? Ask us some questions about coffee.
Okay. I'm just warning you that this may go in and out because you guys are frozen. But anyways.
We're just messing with you, I think. Frank. This guy over here. Oh no, I think he's having a stroke, everybody.
Why don't you pick your nose and freeze that? Perfect. What was your question about coffee there, Ed?
No, you had questions about coffee, didn't you?
Right, go ahead, bud. No, my music. I wanted just while we're still in the music thing, I wanted to ask you just if you could give a highlight of some of the music side of your career that you've done. We've talked about your music education and stuff like that, but you've played some great shows. You've probably played some pretty awesome places in the world that people would love to hear about. I know we've done a Bollywood gig together, which is completely out of our wheelhouse of normal
Yes.
gigs we play, which was in front of what, 20,000 people? Like,
Yeah, that was kind of
crazy.
insane. Yeah. It's been it's just a big haze, really. One gig, I mean, in a good way. I mean, it's just one awesome euphoric moment, and it all bleeds in. I can't pick one or even 10 of my favorite sort of live musical moments or who I've played with. I mean, I've toured through the States. I know that Ed, I don't know if Frank, you went to out east with Colin to the sands, to the desert, right? I never did that, but I mean, that's an experience and a half, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
But
Afghanistan in 2008.
yeah, Afghanistan. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I played for a while. I played in this Punjabi band called the Punjabi by Nature, and that was like super different and outside of my sort of realistic zone of what I normally do. I was playing samples and I was triggering all this crazy stuff that I normally that's, you know, coming from a classical piano background, just it's not something that is in my realm of what I would be doing. And I had an absolute blast. There was a rapper and a beatboxer and like a DJ in the band.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, and then just playing with a ton of different artists and learning and growing through them has just been great. Sort of the first sort of big thing that I did after school was I got a job as a musician at Canada's Wonderland in the house band. Yeah. And the first year, Peter Kadar, Emil, Calvin Beal, and that's where I met all of these guys. Oh, yeah. And they've just Calvin took me aside and basically said, hey, you know, I just come off, I had a university degree in classical music, and he took me aside, said, you're good, but go to Humber and you're going to get all of the sort of jazz poppy type tools that you will need. That's sort of your goal right now. That's sort of what you need. And I did that. I got lucky because I already had a university degree. I wasn't looking for a diploma at Humber, but I just went in and I took all the advanced harmony courses. I took all the advanced improv and orchestration courses, the 3rd and 4th year courses at Humber. And I was only there for about a year and a half. But everything that I've done since then, I can directly or indirectly correlate and relate back to either Humber, and you could probably say the same thing. Ed, you went to Humber?
I went to Grant McHugh in Edmonton, which is a very similar program to Humber. The drum program was quite similar. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Jazz
and right. And I just everything I've done since then, I can, you know, relate back to those moments,
right?
You know, through this connection is through that musician or through that player or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome, man. That's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
That kind of Wonderland gig must have been fun though.
It was. I would have to say. So this was in the day. Like it was the same half-hour show, so you got a little sick of it. It was we did it 4 or 5 times a day. Half hour, but we'd play for half an hour and then we go back to the green room and chill for 45 minutes.
Right.
Play for half an hour, chill for 45 minutes, but it was the same show note for note. Yeah. So that teaches you. It's the same with doing a music theater gig where you have the score written out and you don't have flexibility in terms of what you have to play. It's a craft. It's closer to playing live. It's closer to playing classical music.
Yes.
Right. Where the notes and the articulations and the feel of it is everything, right? So, and that's a tough thing to do for a long time, for a long period of time, right? So that's what that taught. That's what that taught me. But yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Amazing, man. Amazing. All right, coffee questions, Jake.
Yes, Frank, I'm ready.
Am I asking you guys coffee questions?
I don't know. I feel like that's what's happening now. I like that.
Okay.
You said you had some. You might ask us some questions. So.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys some coffee questions. Okay. I have heard, first of all, I have heard that I put the coffee filter paper cups or the paper filters. I use those. I have heard that the paper actually loses some of the flavor and the aroma in the actual cup of coffee.
Well, I can see that because it acts as it acts like the filterization of it, right? It acts like it would absorb that. It's an absorbent material. So clearly that's going to be different. There's so many different elements to coffee. Like there's only so many steps, right, of making coffee. There's multiple ways of making coffee, but there's only so many steps within each method of making coffee, right? And every tiny little step is going to change your flavor.
Of course.
Like a little bit more bean or a little bit more water, a little less of those two. So for sure, I would say that, I mean, without the RD department going into great detail, I would assume that would definitely change your flavor. Now, what I love about coffee culture is that whatever works for you.
Yes.
Like some people will sit there and go, "Oh, you can't have a drip machine. You gotta have this. Oh, you gotta have the pour over." Well, the pour over's also a filter,
Yeah.
right? It's also, you put a filter and then you pour through it, and so there's, man, whatever works for you, wherever you get the flavor you love, I say go with that. You know,
we encountered some of that. Even just, there's some people that, well, we don't like a dark roast. That's like taking a great steak and doing it well done. It's like, but if you like a dark roast flavor, that's what you like. There's nothing wrong with it. And there's some, and if it's roasted well, which we think ours is fantastic that way, there's all these great flavors that come out, and whatever. And then some, I'm a guy that drinks it black, but if you want to put cream and sugar in it, I'm not going to say you shouldn't have coffee that way. I'll have the odd cappuccino that'll have, or a Turkish coffee that will have sugar in it already as it's being made, and I love it. And that's not something normally I will have, but it's in the moment that coffee is great. And again, so if you like it through a filter, that's fine. If it's not taking a flavor away from you.
Yeah. To answer his question, Frank, would you? Well, no. This is all great info, but would you say that? Would you say that it does take that flavor away in your mind?
I would have to do an A/B right now, like with a pour over and a French press. Sure, there's a little bit amount. We touched earlier with Scotty Weiber about how the little bit less cholesterol gets through if you're using a filter, but it's not a significant amount of cholesterol in coffee that's going to affect you in a bad health. So that might change a bit of the flavor profile.
Well, I would imagine, like, the whole purpose of the filter to begin with is just to make the cleanup easier, because you just pick up the whole bag and you put it in the green bin and you're done, as opposed to working at, like, the grinds being all over the inside of the coffee maker, right? So that, I mean, obviously that's the purpose of it. But yeah, Frank, like, some people like their steak well done, and that's fine. And how many times?
That's not fine. That's just a fact.
Yes.
Well, it's not fine. We can't let that one go. For the meat lovers, we can't let that one go. I will picket that.
Said the Alberta boy. I love it.
Exactly.
According to roastycoffee.com, the fact is that it doesn't really matter which one, whether it's a paper filter, filtered or not, bleached or not, it doesn't change the flavor of your coffee.
Okay.
So does the filter affect the taste? Main difference between metal and papers, it's the grind of coffee that it changes in your thing. So a bit more grind in your coffee might release a bit of bitterness, towards the end of the cup.
Yeah.
That might be the only difference in change as well too.
Yeah.
A French press, you'll have a bit more of that in there if they've gotten through. So yeah, it's a great question though, Jake. It was.
Well, and you guys are so right. Everybody likes different flavors. Everybody has different preferences. Everybody likes different kinds of clothing and different bands and different flavors of coffee. How many times do you get into that Starbucks versus Tim Hortons argument with whoever, where they're so far one-sided? Yeah. And it's, you know what? That's fine. It's what you like. It doesn't make the other lovers of the other company wrong, though. I mean, it's just their preference versus your preference.
Starbucks, Tim Hortons.
Hey, listen. No, Jake, you're absolutely 110% right. Absolutely. But Frank, you have to tell the audience and Jake, because he has no idea. What is this, Frank? What is
okay,
that?
Well, Jake will appreciate this because he's done this. So, as you know, Kim and I, Kim being my wife, we've done 3 cruise ship contracts. And of course, we would send pictures and do live chats from the beach in Costa Maya and stuff like that while there's snow going on out here. So anytime I'd bring up a story about the cruise ship, I don't know who did it first. Somebody just did this. And this was, the limo window, like when you don't want to hear the driver speak anymore.
That was me.
I don't know if it was Ed or Elton. Somebody did it. And so this now, if we don't want to hear what you're talking about, this is the limo window going up.
Yeah, but you gotta make it like when you hear the limo window. I was saying it's like, when the limo driver, right? The joke when you get a limo. I don't know if you've been in a limo before, but a couple of them, and they'll be you get the driver that wants to be your buddy, and they're talking to you through the window. Hey, blah 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 blah. But you have the control in the back to roll up their window. So when you don't want the driver to listen to your conversation, or you don't want, like, them involved, you just put up the window. And it's kind of it's a rude thing to do. That's how, I wasn't raised like that, but I mean, I've seen it done where it's like, okay, we've had it in mid conversation. That's enough of you. So when Frank would bring up the cruise ship every 13 seconds, finally we started doing like this. That meant like we weren't listening to you anymore. Now,
So now
here's the funniest.
generic.
What's that, Frank?
So now it's become a generic use of anytime we don't want to hear and it's only when you bring up the names like Star.
So here, the funniest part of this is we're out camping, okay? Frank and Kim came and visit us camping. And I have a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old, Maple and Lavender. And Maple and Frank and I were playing cards at the table. And I think we were playing the game that you turned us on to.
Okay.
Yes.
Skull.
Skull, right.
Yeah.
And I did no, I didn't do the limo. Frank said something. No, I said something. It was me. And Maple did this. My 10-year-old. But she didn't just do the window. She also locked it. She did a lock. She would. You can't. The child lock. You can't bring the window back down. It was brilliant. Brilliant. Anyway, we had to explain that, Jake, because you looked a little puzzled. You're like, "What's up with Frank? Like, is he?"
Yeah, it's I'm not stroking out. I'm good. No burnt toast going on yet.
So was that window up for the rest of the camping trip, Ed, or what?
I have no idea she would let me put it on. I'm like, whatever.
Oh, that is brilliant. So I have some of my vinyl records here that have changed my life in terms of like.
Yes, your isolation records. What are they, Jake?
My isolation records. So I'm just going to go kind of chronologically, and I'll try and go kind of quick through this. I have a couple of them. Obviously, after about 1985, I don't have the records on vinyl, so I'm going to go up to about 85, and I know that's going to show my age. But when I was four or five, I went to my aunt and uncle's house, and they had this record on vinyl. I don't know if you can see that. That is Jay Giles Band, Love Stinks.
Yeah.
And so this Love Stinks record, I was 4 and I asked for this.
What year was that recorded?
76 maybe.
I thought it was late 70s.
Oh, 1980. So I must have been 6. They had it and I was 6. And so I asked for this for Christmas, and I was the happiest kid as a 6-year-old getting Love Stinks. So this one, you recognize that cover album?
Oh, yeah. Great record.
So this changed my life, and when I was a kid. And Billy Joel is actually, if you want to take a lesson on songwriting, if you want to take a lesson on how to write a bridge, like Billy Joel is the master at that. He's also not a bad piano player / singer. But I just can't believe how many great songs are on this record. It's the top for me. It's a toss up between this and 52nd Street, which I have over there somewhere.
Right.
But this one has my favorite.
Going down on Sullivan Street. Great.
Oh yeah. But Scenes from an Italian Restaurant is on this one, and I think that's my favorite Billy Joel tune.
So good.
Has been forever.
Yeah.
And Ed, we had the luxury of playing this live because Elton would do that a couple
Elton
times.
Lammy does a Billy Joel tribute. That's right.
So much later, not much later, but growing up, my dad. So on weekends, I would wake up to the smell of bacon and eggs that my dad would be cooking, and he loved classic rock. He loved Bob Seger, he loved Zeppelin, Hendrix, Eric Clapton. But this is the one record that I have one complaint about this record, and it's that it's too short. And if that's your one complaint, you know it's a good record. Do you recognize this cover?
Oh yeah,
man.
Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Deja Vu.
That still got the plastic on it?
What's that? No.
Oh.
It's just shiny.
Oh.
And then I've got a couple more here. I know it's so cliche having this.
Oh.
But
that.
This I listened to with headphones on for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Lyrically, musically, the storyline, everything about it. Every note on this record is for a purpose.
Yeah. I know a few of those notes.
It's yeah, I bet, eh? Great Gig in the Sky is one of my favorite. That second chord of Great Gig in the Sky, B minor is the first chord, right? And the piano player pivots, like it's a very famous sort of piano pop thing to do to, you know, the Imagine chord where you're like, ding, doom, ding, doom. So the Great Gig in the Sky starts with B minor, and then the second chord is kind of like a B minor 7 flat 5 over F. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it's awesome, and I love it, and it's the best.
Right on.
In the 80s, this guy.
Oh.
So when I was 10, I was not sorry. When I was 10, 86. Yeah, 10 years old. Somebody put this. They had a Walkman, and they put these headphones on me. And what's the first track with the drums on this? Hot for Teacher?
No, Hot for Teacher. It's Panama, isn't it?
What's the
that's
drum
Hot for
intro
Teacher,
on
but it's
side
Hot
one?
for Teacher the first. Oh, that's the first track, and Panama's on the second side, right?
Is that? I don't know.
Well, you got the record in your hand.
I should know this, but this is when I was a kid. Oh yeah, 1984 starts off side one. Yeah, Hot for Teacher.
Yeah,
so,
and Panama's on B side B, I think.
This was on cassette, so somebody played the cassette, and I had the headphones on. It was a Walkman, and that drum thing started on Hot for Teacher, and I was like, I threw the headphones off, and I was like, that sounds so evil.
Yeah.
And then I gradually, slowly went back to the headphones and went, oh my God, this is the best thing. It was brand new. It was like the first time I ever heard Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit with the exact same thing, where it's like, this is going to change music, right?
For me, it was Hell's Bells. When I was driving in the car with my dad, around the age you're talking about, and the bell started ringing.
Yes.
And I'm like right now the hair's standing up on my arm. I'm like, I felt like were we going to church? Were we in a satanic cult? Like, what was going on? But it had that eeriness to it for sure, but it drawed you in, right? Like, it was pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah. So that one, and I don't have it on vinyl, but Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet was around the same, maybe a couple years after that.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, the acoustic tune at the end, "Wanted Dead or Alive," that was my favorite song for years and years and years, and that whole album's great. But I would have to say this is maybe not so much anymore, only because I'm so much older, and this had been my Desert Island album for years. This one.
Oh, there you go. Faith No More.
So this is on my list only because this is I asked for this for Christmas. This is like the limited edition, whatever, double album. But that one is on my list because that came at a time, Faith No More changed my life. It was a skateboard punk band. And when I was a teenager, just throwing that on, I wore that through. And that album in particular is my Desert Island album because the album before was what Epic was on that album.
Yeah.
And you know the song Epic, right? It's their biggest hit.
Yeah.
And this was the album where it was after Epic came out and they had the budget to basically creatively and musically do what they wanted. Mike Patton is probably, he's in my top 5, if not top 3 rock and roll singers of all time.
Yeah.
He can sing in 4 or 5 languages. I've heard him sing opera. I've heard him sing opera in German and play it, right? And I've heard him scream punk music. And he sounds great doing all of it. And the drum sound on that, I don't know how well you know Mike Borden, but the drum sound on that is just so perfect. I love the drum sound on that, and it's so creative. They do so many harmonic and theoretical musical things that I don't even know if they're doing it. I don't know if they know the theory behind what they're doing, but it just sounds so great, and I love that album. So,
question for you, sir: what are you watching these days? Are you getting any watch time in? Is there something that you're checking out on Netflix or some other sort of platform?
I don't, as I mentioned before, I play, I don't watch a lot of TV. When I do, I don't get out much. So I'll watch the sappiest movie and be, like bawling my eyes out, and my kids are looking at me going, really? But
Amazing.
But I do have to admit, I did see the last series I finished was on Netflix, was Vikings.
Oh, it's great.
Oh my goodness. It is
Right?
it is pretty, there's a lot of blood, but it's if you're a Game of Thrones fan at all, it is so good. And it gets better.
It gets
Season
better.
2 is better than season 3. Season 1, and season 3 is better than season 2. Right now, Netflix only has the first 3 seasons, and I've heard there's at least 6.
What?
Yeah, there are 6 seasons, but Netflix only has the first 3. Have you seen it, Ed?
I have. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's incredible. It's incredible.
It is so good. But other than that, I watch some live comedy. Like I watch Tom Segura stand up. And he's great. I've seen all of his, and Dimitri Martin, and like just a lot of the comedians that have been.
Well, we're all 3 of us are huge comedy fans. So is Frank. So myself as well.
Cool. Yeah. So I will watch that, and I'll watch more documentaries than anything. But I would much rather play a board game with my family than watch a movie on Netflix or whatever. We have actually been, since we've been home, we've been eating dinner around the TV, and we will watch Jeopardy. Jeopardy's on at 7:30, and my kids now are at a point where they're answering more questions than I am.
Amazing.
I mean, they're in grades 12 and 10, but I can't believe, like I don't have to, I'm very lucky in that their education, I don't have to bug them about doing their homework. Or anything. They love it. They're good students, and so they're smart kids. They read a lot, and they can answer all these Jeopardy questions.
Amazing.
So they must get that.
Form of a question? Do they do it in the form of a question?
Yeah. No, we just shout out the answer. We don't have time. We have to beat the people who on TV. This week has been it's been all college graduates. And these young kids they're so smart. Holy cow.
And still Alec, right? Like he's still on it?
Still Alec. He is so good at that job.
He's so good.
He's getting up there. I've heard he's had some health problems of late as well. Yeah. So he's looking a little bit older these days, but he's still got it, man. He's doing
he's ours.
Job.
He's ours.
He is. He's a BC boy, isn't he? I think he's from from BC.
I'm not sure about that, but I know I know he's one of ours. Yeah.
He's so good. He's fair. I don't know how he doesn't mess up. Like you have to be on all the time.
Oh, he's so good.
How he answers, it makes him look like a genius too, because I mean, obviously he's got the answers in front of him, but he does such a good job.
It's like Jeopardy's a complete different animal than say Price is Right or Wheel of Fortune. But 100%. When I was growing up as a kid, those were the games. Like you would watch those with your parents, right? And looking at those other 2, it's not the knowledge side isn't there, right? That Jeopardy has, but that's what makes them unique from each other. But Bob Hope as a game show host, or what was the guy in Wheel of Fortune? Pat Sajak. I mean, those guys, they were the masters of those games.
Bob Barker.
Yeah. But when Drew Carey took over for Bob Barker, I still can't, like when I watch it, I don't watch it. Because it's just not the same.
No, it's not.
No offense to that guy, because Drew Carey is awesome and he's hilarious. And I mean, who else do you get to replace Bob Barker? But it's just not the same.
Even Family Feud, I can't remember the original host for Family Feud. Steve Harvey is hilarious, and he does a great job. And I'll watch it the odd time. And Mr. D is hilarious as the Canadian version. I don't know if you guys have seen. I've seen 1 or 2 maybe. But it's just so different, because the host really makes the show in those types of deals, right? So
just going back to Alex Trebek, he's a Greater Sudbury boy. That's where he's born.
Oh, that's
right.
Yeah. you know what? That I knew that. Yeah.
I said BC. I was close.
Close enough. It's almost it's a day away.
I had the right country.
You did.
I was only like 3 or 4 time zones away. I mean, how
That's
bad is that? Not too bad.
Really close, dude. Don't beat yourself up over it.
Great. So what's next after once COVID releases? Any future plans that you're doing?
Well,
Wise, you know.
because I'm actually practicing a lot, I'm trying to set a goal for myself to actually upload these classical. So I'm trying to do some classical stuff and some non-classical stuff, and I'll be uploading it to my YouTube channel. So I'll be doing that.
Hey, Jake,
right now,
where can we find that? What's your YouTube channel?
right now, my YouTube channel it's called Ivory's Player, but I think I'm going to change that. What?
That is where the link will be, right there.
Oh, I think I want to change. You can edit that out, but I think I want to change it. I'm probably going to name it something like The Real Jake Payne. Ivory's Player sounds a little too presumptuous, and that's not really my style.
Like
So it's going to be the real.
So it will be Ivory.
It's going to be The Real Jake Payne.
Real Jake Payne.
Well,
real
ladies
Jake
and gentlemen,
Payne.
he's a little confused, but we'll get that. We'll get both those links to you.
Was the Ivory Player your cruise ship gig name? That sounds
No,
like
it's just
okay.
Ivory's is a lot of my gaming handles for online gaming. It's either Ivory's or Domri Raid, which is one of my favorite planeswalkers in the Magic the Gathering realm, which I. Well, Jake, it's been nice knowing you, and
no,
buddy, we know that.
That's great.
That's awesome.
I'm just going to go back on one other thing, and you and I share this one, Princess Bride.
oh my goodness,
One of the top movies.
yes.
I could watch that again in isolation about 500 times if I had to.
That we share that. Yeah, that's it. That's the exact movie that I would take with me on, and that is despite the fact that I could paraphrase all of everything.
Yeah.
And I've read up about it, and I've seen all the background footage and whatever. That's a movie.
I still find something new every time I watch it. I go, I missed that. Like,
Absolutely.
you know, a nuance of some sort of a gesture whatsoever. Anyways, we digress, and I digress.
So, Jake, where would anybody find you? I mean, we talked about that YouTube link, but Instagram, Facebook. Tell us where we can find you on there.
I'm on Facebook. I'm not really I know it goes against what musicians should be doing, but I'm not about look at me, look at me, look at me. It's really not my style. I'm not here to. Yeah, I like to promote myself as a musician, but for me, it's more of how I'm making myself feel rather than making sure that I have so many followers on, on YouTube or whatever. And that is exactly why that I am not where I maybe could be had I been promoting myself, way more often. It's just, that's not what I'm all about as a musician. So it's not about me selling myself skill-wise to the general public or others. Although I will start to put stuff up on YouTube. So The Real Jake Payne, that'll be me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about people? Like, the thing is, you're not just a musician. You're a cool cat. You got some really cool stuff going on. If somebody wants to, follow you as a human being.
Oh, I have. I am on Facebook. I'm on it semi-periodically. I do not have Instagram, but I am on Facebook. And I'm on that periodically, and I check up on that. I don't post a lot of stuff because I know the ramifications of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong whatever. And I've seen a lot of Facebook can get quite negative at times. So I'm trying to keep that. If I only have anything to post, it's going to be either something funny or something that will brighten somebody's day.
I love it. That's
amazing.
How we should be using those platforms.
Yeah.
Well, I remember
we've been using them too long, as if it's like you said. It's like you don't want to make yourself feel good. You know what I mean? Like, are the likes making you feel good? Well, if that's the case, wow, that's not everybody's 4,000 likes.
But you know what else though? I'm not being a full-time musician. Like, I'm a music teacher as well, so I don't have to promote myself. I've been a side musician forever. I mean, Matt Rawlings is one of my piano heroes, and hardly anybody knows him. But he's the Nashville guy, piano player for everyone, and he is a super genius that nobody's heard of. I follow him on Facebook, and he posts a lot of. He just plays and just records, and everything he does is just so beautiful, right?
Well, I remember you when you used to teach piano, not at a school, in an elementary school, and I remember when you went back to teachers college, because you said, my kids are going to get older and they're going to get home from school and I'm going to be leaving to go teach, so I want that to change. And then one of the reasons you went to become an educator in that way in the school system was for that very reason.
Yes.
So
and
I remember doing gigs with you while you were taking books and studying on the side and stuff like that. So
yep. That was a tough time too, because I had to cut back a little bit on the gigs because I was going back to school. And you know, the kids were young, and maybe Riley, the youngest, was still in diapers. But so financially, it was a little bit tougher. But I got through it, and this is year 13 or 14 now as a teacher, and it's pretty. Being able, like, I teach 300 kids, and I bump into kids now that are graduated university, full beards, you know, and it's just like, it's just checking in on them, and they remember me. And it's not about, at the end of the day, it's not about what you teach, whether they are 10 or whether they are 40 or 50. Yeah. It's about how you make them feel about what you're giving them. Yeah, you know, yeah. It's not, you're not entertaining them with anything. You are giving them the vibe that learning is awesome and fun. And if you can keep that mindset, if you can give them that sort of mindset, then you have a future learner for the rest of their life. And they're going to look on back at how you made them feel, not, oh, remember that one class we did this? It's, oh, I felt you were my favorite teacher because of how I felt in your classroom. I always wanted to, I loved walking through that door because of how less my stress level went down, or this happened, and I felt so happy in your classroom. Whether it's a one-on-one piano lesson or drum lesson or anything, or it's an actual classroom setting, right? So,
Jake, on that note,
bing.
Listen, man, I got to thank you for being such an amazing educator. And, you know, I have little kids, and I see the impact on that. I also teach all sorts of ages, and I see the impact on that. You know, I see the impact with that. But thank you for doing that. Thank you for being out there, and because we need to raise these little guys the proper way from ground up, right? So, and I want to do a big old shout out. The three of us lost a good friend during this COVID time, Mr. Sean Cuddington. I call him Cutting Tone.
Cutting Tone, yes.
We all knew him, and I want to do a big old cheers cup up to him, Jake.
All right.
Frank.
And there, so,
cheers.
Here's to Sean.
Here's to Sean.
Here's to Sean.
Cheers.
He would have loved that. He would have been on this thing. He would have been a great one.
Yeah.
All
right.
Frank, anything else?
I think that's it. We've touched on everything. Well, we could talk for hours. It's a good joy, and just like what you do to your students, you're like that when you're on a gig. You always make a gig that much better. Sometimes there's like a gig that's, I'm not looking forward to this one, but Jake's on it, so it's going to lift it to that level. So
Frank, you're a sweetheart.
A monster musician, but also a more monster human being too, which is
big time.
Which is more important in the end of the picture. So. Miss playing music with you right now. So
100%. I can't wait to see you guys and play music again.
We will ride again.
Maybe Ed, we can do a garage social distancing jam once the weather gets a little warmer.
I have my tambourine ready.
That's right.
That's all you guys ever let me play. Gentlemen, thanks for coming up. Okay, episode 4 with Mr. Jake, the Payne. Don't forget to go to Morning Buzz coffee.buzz to help with the musicians from Coast to Coast Canada. We are donating proceeds from every sale to the Unison Benevolent Fund. It's a good cause. So, Frank,
Great cause. Jake Payne,
take
thank
us
you.
out, Frankie.
Thank you for
hold on.
Oh.
I, Jake Payne, recommend and endorse the Queen Bee roast.
Hey,
Gotcha.
you always
Hey,
get
you know
to
what
learn.
that deserves, Frank? It deserves one of these. Coming down, baby. The window's
Yeah.
coming down.
Look at windows open again. Oh, smells. Anyways, smells like Queen Bee roast in here. Very good.
Where can you find us, Frank?
You can find us at morninbuzzcoffee.buzz. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/morningbuzz. You can find us on Instagram at instagram.com/morninbuzzcoffee. Just look for us, and eventually you're going to be looking for the yellow bag. All right, thanks for being hanging out on Coffee Hang. This week's special guest was Jake Payne, and we got lots more coming down the pipe for you. You guys have a great evening. Take care. Good night.
Thanks, Jake. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
You're
See you
awesome.
soon.
Yeah, man. Oh.